Welcome to Happy Hour Holidaze. Your host for the time being, man, he's still out, still on daddy duty, is Sean Febre. We got a special guest today for you. We got Mr. Anderson. No, not the one from the Matrix. This is Scott Anderson, but he may give you a red pill. Make sure to take it to wake you up from the Matrix. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on.
That's fantastic, man. I know we met you on the Brandon Rhymes show.
Yep.
And we've also met in passing at, man, who's the guy's event?
It was Sebastian Gorka. We went to his event for the cigar.
I think that was the first time that we met. And you told me something interesting. The second time we met is that you have an eidetic memory.
Yes.
And what exactly? Can you explain to the audience what that is?
In general, it's basically you have priming effects of semantic and episodic memory is what you base your short-term into long-term memory on. Okay, so eidetic memory is not photographic memory, which it's misconstrued with a lot.
That's what I thought it was.
It's completely different. Photographic memory or is different. Eidetic memory just means that with a lot of things that you engage in, that you're interested in, that are meaningful to you, you have a very detailed recall of the entire event in a episodic type way, like you relive the moment, almost like a video. Kind of. So you're able to recall very fine details to things that you've done in the past. It's not super great when it comes to like memorizing words and languages and stuff like that. More of, like I said, emotional things that you're interested in.
So then I really don't know much about you, Scott, other than quite a few things. Well, not enough things, right? Can you tell the audience kind of a little bit about your backstory? Are you from Tampa? You said you lived abroad.
No, I've got quite an eclectic background. I came from a very broken, damaged home. So basically, I'm a cautionary tale. Started that way. Grew up in South Side of Chicago, and then went through horrible, like I said, a broken home. My father was very physical abusive. My mother as well, emotional abuse. All kinds of, terrible domestic violence. I witnessed it all. By the time I was 9, we had moved out of the city into the suburbs, and we moved from place to place all over. They got a divorce, thankfully, when I was 9. Domestic violence. It was horrible. And then, again, it just continued on, but from 2 families, I went into the suburbs. I went to high school there.
In Chicago?
This is, it was in the suburbs of Chicago. I think it was New Lenox, Joliet area. I started school there, again, moved from place to place. So all the time I was there, we were very poor on government assistance. So we grew up on the government nipple. And my mom, was just a train wreck, borderline. So I didn't do very well in school. I was, more worried about eating and surviving than I was, academia. So went on to play football. But my freshman year, I spent incarcerated, a little over a year and a half altogether. What's that? Yeah. Well, yeah. But I was in with 18, 19-year-olds that were, Do
you mind telling us
criminals? Again, it was due to the family dynamic. It was very chaotic and very domestic violence, physical abuse all the time. But it was, long story short, my mother called the police, lied and said that I assaulted her. And then the cops came, and obviously back then they didn't, kids didn't really have many rights. So I had an uncle that was at my house. I showed up and I was like, what's going on here? I knew something goofy was going on because we had a fight the night before, and came home, and the police came in, raided the place, kind of beat me up and handcuffed me, dragged me out of the house, and then drove me to, I was 14.
14?
Oh, yeah, I was 14. And they took me to a place called Mercyville. It was basically an adult or a juvenile psychiatric center. I was there for several months, and then went to Aurora State Correctional, for youth, and finished up my time there. Spent my 16th birthday, and not a good
not a good start, right?
not a good start.
Yeah.
But again, when I realized when I was in there that I actually enjoyed that more than my living arrangement.
Yeah, you probably got food every day.
Yeah,
right?
I gained like 15, 20 pounds. I had a bed to sleep on. It was great. I mean, we grew up really poor. Like I said, we lived in the projects would be a kind word. Three of us. I had a younger brother and an older brother. We had to sleep in a little tiny room the size of this studio, cramped on each other. It was
rough.
It wasn't a good environment. Never having any food. It was a nightmare. So I grew up with the psychological and physical abuse and experienced and witnessed things that children should never see.
Is that kind of like a turning point in your life when you said to yourself, I never want to live like this again?
No, unfortunately, I was hard-headed, and it came close to death for me to get my life turned around. So when I got out of there, again, I attempted to go to school. I was emancipated. Basically, the state said, listen, we're gonna put you out there, and as long as you finish up school, don't get in any trouble. You won't go back to jail, but you screw up and off you go. So I was very cautious about not doing anything to get caught. I never graduated high school. And then I went on, but I happened to be very good at football, very good, exceptional.
What position?
I was a tailback,
Okay.
and I had 4.4 speed. I was 190
4.4?
pounds. Yeah,
Holy
I was way up there. I was all area, all conference, all state. I only played 2 years, but I broke most of the records at my high school, Division I. So I had Big Ten I had tons of Big Ten scholarships.
Please tell me you took one, man.
See, here's the problem. You can't without academia. So I didn't graduate high school. So I had to go to junior college, Joliet Junior College. And again, I struggled with school. Not all areas of school. I excelled in the things that I liked, got straight A's, but then the other stuff I did very poorly. So basically, football kind of gave me a little saving grace, because people kind of overlooked other things. So when you're in junior college, you do with, I think it's the maturity act of something or another, where you basically go to school, you take remedial courses and you test
so is
out.
Junior college like basically community college?
Yeah, it's community college.
Okay.
Yeah. And basically, if you don't do well in high school, it's a chance for you to get your foot in the door for college. So I had to take remedial courses and stuff to get in certain areas. And then once I did that, I could apply, I could go,
to a university, right?
Yeah, to a university to play football. The problem was my freshman year of playing there football, I went screwing around with a friend of mine, also on the football team, and he had gotten a new truck. We went to a fair. This was before the beginning of the season, and we got in a car accident.
Ooh. But you weren't driving, though.
No, he was drunk, and I was begging him to let me drive. I wasn't drinking. Actually, I was drinking, but I wasn't driving, or I wasn't drunk.
You weren't to excess.
No, I wasn't, and it was going home. But there was a friend that was having a party, so we were going to go there. We went down the road, and it was kind of gravelly, and he was like really going fast, and then the back end kind of slipped out. We hit a pole at about 45, 50 miles an hour. It hit directly in front of me, and it was a small little Nissan truck. So through the window, my head went.
No seatbelt?
I broke my neck. What's that? No
seatbelt.
Seatbelt.
Oh, shit.
I don't think that would have helped. But because the engine came through the compartment, smashed my knees. It damaged me. My hairline and stuff, I got scalped. So literally the top of my scalp was hanging in my face. It was bad.
Holy shit, man.
We had a bunch of beer in the car. He was slumped over. At first I thought he was dead. The steering wheel was bent. He was knocked out, and I didn't lose consciousness, but I mean, I noticed, I knew I was bleeding really bad, and my knees and everything were crushed. So I got out of the car, and I guess I had the wherewithal to hide all the beer and throw it in the sewer and all that stuff next door, because it was right in front of our old, grade school, believe it or not. And So I got him up and woke him up, and I told him I'm leaving. He said, I got to stay here. And I'm like, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? So I was like, you do whatever you want, but do not dare say I was in this car, because I didn't want to go back to prison. I didn't want to go back to jail and be incarcerated. So
so you got your hair hanging out.
Yeah, bleeding to death. And
did you at least go to a hospital?
No, unfortunately. I grew up without health care. So you're taking for granted I had health care or I had a family. So at that point, I was just kind of living in the street, living with friends, living from place to place nomadically. And I did go back to my house where my mom was, and she was sleeping. I don't know, this wasn't too late. It was around 10 o'clock. And I remember walking and looking at my face in the mirror, and it was hanging down. So I didn't know what to do. So I literally took Scotch tape. This is no joke. And masking tape. And I taped my face back together. And I had a shard of glass, maybe if you see the big scar there.
Yeah.
That's where the glass stuck into my bone. And it was still hanging out like 2 inches. So I didn't know. I didn't want to remove it, so I had to put tape around it. It was a mess. On the way to getting there, and thank God some friends saw me on the way home that were driving home from
the extent of how you healed yourself was with Scotch tape?
No. I almost died. So basically what happened is I called my older brother, said, listen, it's an emergency.
And
you
what year
come
is this
get me.
around?
This was in the 80s, 86, 87.
How old
So
are you?
no, it was 1980, 88 or 89.
How old are you now?
Oh God, I'm on the wrong side of 45.
45.
Again. So I'm over 50.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so I called my brother. He came over there, thankfully. I heard my mom screaming, "What the fuck are you doing? This and that and stuff." Any inconvenience for her was a thing. So I wouldn't dare tell her, hey, I was in a car accident, because I'd get screamed and yelled at. I got to waste money, because we were, like I said, she was all about her and not about us. So my brother had already moved out, so he was on his own. So this must have been 89, 90. And anyways, he came and picked me up. I said, I'm not going to the hospital. He's like, Scott, you got to go to the hospital. I think you're, I said, because I obviously had a concussion. I said, just make sure you wake me up every half hour, you know what I mean? Because I knew if you had a concussion, don't fall asleep, because something bad could happen. Anyways, I woke up. I slept through the night, woke up the next day. It was Sunday. And I remember saying, I'm going to, watch the Bears game. We were watching the Bears game. We're diehard fans there. And basically what happened was I ended up having to go to the hospital, because I was bleeding out and so on. So I went to the hospital, and the plastic surgeon came in, and they had to remove the glass. I had like 141 stitches in my face. They tried to repair the hairline, and it was a mess.
But you have hair now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not good hair. I mean, obviously it's, but that's because, and that's why I have these scars all on the back of my head, because they had to take, hair and stuff, and they didn't have hair restoration like they do now back then. So they just kind of, sewed stuff back in there. It was a meatball surgery.
And then that was pretty much the end.
That was the end of, well, yeah, because I went back and, obviously my knees were crushed and stuff. So,
did you have like torn ACLs?
I was, that was the end of the football career. I broke my back, my neck. Now, I had a big lawsuit about it. Unfortunately, the attorney took advantage of me, and, so I didn't walk with what I should have, because I had Big Ten scholarships. I still have all the letters and all that good stuff, and the newspaper articles. And unfortunately, so that was the end of that.
And this was your freshman year.
Yeah, I was starter, and I could have, anyways, coulda, woulda, shoulda, the El Bundy saga.
What was the college that you played for?
Well, it was Joliet Junior College, but I was going to play. Yeah, I was going to play. I had a scholarship to Iowa. Had
you played a game
University
yet?
of Florida? No, we were just preseason. We were just preseason games.
So then after that, what do you do then?
Well, I was like, I was in junior college, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to try to get an education. So I struggled through junior college, But again, I was having difficulty in certain areas. Other classes, I was exception, straight A's, no effort.
What subject? Because you said that before.
Math,
Yeah,
and English and spelling, grammatics.
So what was the topics you really didn't care for that you were struggling
it turns out it's a processing difference in your prefrontal cortex, the left, like anterior cingulate area of the brain. You have how you process information. I didn't process information because, again, I had
unless it was math
issues.
Or English. Or
Math
right?
and English, consumer math, statistical stuff. I excelled, but when it came to
like sciences, maybe
algebra, those types of maths, that are more symbolic, they don't actually have any practical application. I struggled with spelling, English processing, and I struggled with that since I was a little kid. So it was, again, an area of the brain that was damaged that I needed assistance for. I had dyslexia. Nobody accounted for that. I needed glasses. I couldn't see. No health care.
That's a big one.
So plus, like I said, when you're living in a home where you don't have nutritional health, and it's constant chaos and abuse, education
wasn't good.
Yeah, it's just not something you can thrive in. So
I mean,
it's just
so then you didn't stay in junior college.
Well, I hung in there. I tried everything to get through, and I got through like 90% of it. And then my living arrangement, no money, no transportation. Try getting.
You didn't have a job?
No, I couldn't get a job. No high school education. I didn't graduate from high school.
Fast food?
Yeah, and back then it was, you think it's bad now getting a job. Back in 88, 89, there was nothing. We were in a crisis. So I went, no, they weren't hiring. I even had friends that owned fast food restaurants, their parents, and I couldn't get a job there because I don't have transportation.
Okay, yeah.
So no car, no high school diploma. I did physical labor.
Well, you had a GED at least, right?
No.
To get into junior college?
No, you don't need a GED. You have to take remedial courses,
holy shit,
which would be the equivalent of a GED.
I mean, your backstory is just
I didn't know.
It's a struggle, dude.
I didn't know anybody that went to school, that went to college, that graduated college. I had no support, no help from any family. So I had jail. That doesn't look good on my resume. The only thing I had that was my saving grace was my ability to play football. And
that was taken away.
And that was gone.
Yeah.
So at this point, I was like free falling. I was free falling fast. So I got involved with, I guess you call it the mafia or whatever, and gangs and organized crime. Yeah. And I did a lot of bad stuff to make money and hustle. I was a hustler. I was a big kid. I was very versed in physical combat. So
were you as big now?
I was 190.
Well, I don't know how much.
Oh, I'm 210 right now. So yeah. So I mean, pretty much, I was like 205 in college.
What kind of organized? I don't know if it's within the statute of limitations, but
it isn't. So I'm not worried about that stuff. There's no crimes to connect me to. But basically,
like dealing drugs and
I
shit?
will say that people around me would steal cars and get rid of them for money. So that would be under insurance fraud. Yeah, like we would take somebody's car and not me. I'm just saying alleged. Yeah, alleged. But basically, take cars, burn them. And then they'd get the insurance, give us some money for the insurance. We hustled at pool. I collected money from people.
You a good pool player?
For stuff very exceptional. And I don't know about now, stuff like that. What's that?
You ever heard of the APA?
No.
The Amateur Pool Association?
Yeah. Back in Chicago, everybody played pool. We'd go to pool halls all the time.
The Color of Money just came out.
Constantly. And we were all big fans of that stuff. So I would hustle pool. Make money doing that kind of stuff.
So you had to get money any way you could.
I could, yeah. I didn't sell drugs, thank God. But I couriered. Like I said, I was more of a collection. I was more of a strong man. So if somebody owed money, I would come collecting from you.
And
so
how
if
old
you
were
saw
you
me,
at this time?
I was like 18, 19.
Oh my God,
yeah,
bro.
But I was doing it since I was a little kid,
Holy shit.
I didn't have a car. I didn't have transportation. You know what I mean? So I was very limited in what I could do.
So you said if someone saw you, they
wouldn't want to
see you,
Yeah,
right?
this was a bad day because I was, I trained in martial arts since I was a kid. I never had to, I did bad stuff. Let's just say that. I I hurt people
Allegedly.
and stuff. Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly.
But I'm not proud of all that stuff. And
No,
again,
but it made
the
you
things
who
that
you
stuff like
are.
that. Yeah, and that wasn't a good person, like I said. And I'm trying to balance this between. I was like an alter ego. There was the bad side of me that I was engaged in, surviving in, and then there was the inside part of me that knew it was horrible and bad, and I felt horrible shame and guilt, and I struggled with depression, anxiety, horrible self-esteem issues. Plus, you're worrying, how are you going to eat today? Where are you going to sleep today? So it was just living on the street. I literally was living on the street. I remember, having to go from friend's house to friend's house, sleeping outside. It was a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
So then how long did you do that for?
Well,
so you were 18.
This is where 18. And I said, listen, I was spiraling down. I was getting to the point. I finally got to the point where I actually got through junior college. It was a struggle. It took me 3 years to get through it. But I made it through, and I got an associate's degree. Then I was like, okay, now what? Let's get a job. So I was doing odd jobs. Well, I wanted to go to school, but that takes money.
Yeah.
And I didn't have money. Thank God I was awarded the state. So I applied for Pell Grants and those types of things. So I got it. The government said, listen, as long as you're in school, and this was a turning point, in passing, at least half-time or full-time, we'll give you money. And that was my only claim to fame. So while I was hustling, I was getting money enough to survive by these Pell Grants and student loans. And, but I did make it through. And then my plan was to continue in school. But, I had to take, the GRE and all that other good stuff. And, I wasn't good with testing. So anyways, because of the cognitive deficits, all the other wonderful attributes I was going through, it turned out I applied for multiple schools. I did get into Northern Illinois University. It was a big, big deal for me. In that year-long stint in between there, I was, like I said, living from place to place, crashing on friends' couches and that stuff. When I got in there, this is around the time I got that settlement from the car accident. So finally things aligned for me. So I took that money and I paid for school for a year and bought a piece of crap car. And
how much did you get from the settlement?
17,000. I should have
Back
gotten.
then was
it was garbage for what the amount was that the attorney took like 90%. What a scumbag! He was a friend of the family, and he just absolutely took advantage of
Jesus
me.
Christ!
Thankfully, he died horribly.
Oh shit!
He got what he deserved, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think he died from cancer or something. Good for him. But anyways, he. It was, I got that settlement. So that was it. I remember buying a gold chain was the only luxury food. And then, the car and stuff to get down to Northern Illinois University.
And before we finish off this story, we got to take a short break. We'll be right back. And we're back with Happy Hour Holidaze. We were now on to his portion of his life at Northern Illinois. Was that right?
Basically what happened was I finished junior college. I moved over, I believe it or not, reunited with my biological father because I was kind of desperate. I just needed a place to stay. So I moved over with him. He lived in a place called Naperville, which is a nice area.
This is still in Illinois.
Yeah, this is all in Illinois. Yeah. And he lived in this tiny little place. Literally, the entire apartment was the size of this studio. 1 bedroom, looked like a camper almost. And I just slept on a cement floor and, didn't have, any belongings other than a little bit of clothes. And I used this little side closet where you put shoes. It was just, again, not the greatest
early 90s,
environment. Yeah, this is, yep. This was in 89, 90. So basically, I went to Northern Illinois University.
Went there for a year.
I thank God I had a friend that was going there, and he went to school like 3 times a week, but he basically drove from where he lived to there, which was like 30 minutes. But he had an apartment. So he said, listen, you can just stay there, crash on the couch and use my apartment and stuff like that. So I said, okay. And again, it was just horrible experience. I did do well in most of my classes, other than, like I said, the areas
Math,
of
English,
the math
grammar.
and English was just terrible.
So you did good in sciences.
I did,
right?
yeah, I did fantastic in everything else. So my grade point average was doable, but then I had I got academically
Brought to you by White
dismissed.
Claw.
I got academically dismissed. I had to go back home. At that point, I was like,
Academically
listen,
dismissed. What does that mean?
that means that if you get a failing grade in one of your classes,
Just one.
you can get academically dismissed. That just means that you got to go to their junior college, which was Kishwaukee College. So I went to, this is the longevity of my degrees. I got the associate's degree from Joliet Junior College. I went to Kishwaukee College and got credits there. I got credits at Northern Illinois University. I had like 160 credits. You need like 80 something to graduate. But I was just, again, I was only there to get money from the government. So I was just taking classes so they would pay me money so I could live.
Tell me you walked away with a bachelor's.
Oh, I did. I have a bachelor's degree, but this is later on from University of South Florida. I did a nursing program at HCC, Hillsborough Community College. I didn't sit for the because I got accepted into USF, and then I got a master's degrees in rehabilitation and mental health counseling, and then I got a PhD in psychology, and now I'm board certified in addiction, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor and also AS.
Did I count it right? You have 5 degrees?
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah. But that's after I learned how to learn. That's after I addressed the issue. I was talking to you. When I came to Florida, it was a
When did you come to Florida?
That was in 1991.
Okay.
So I migrated because everything I figured I had lost. I got academically dismissed. I couldn't find work. I was doing construction, 5 o'clock in the morning, working in the snow and the sleet and the rain.
Though, doing
no,
that, right?
back then, as a laborer, you're making $5-6 an hour. The guys hired, half the time they would keep our money and we'd have to fight to get it. I built the Cibruses in the surrounding Chicagoland areas. The Cibruses are like where you go for honeymoons and stuff, like all these kind of cool rooms and stuff. So I did that for about a year, and I was living at a friend's house, and thank God the O'Connors, Junie O'Connor and Mike, and thank God that they let me in the house and treated me like a son. That was the first time I actually had like a family. And
this was in Illinois.
This is in Illinois. This is right before I decided, and I had made this game plan. I got to get out of I got to get out of Illinois. I hated it because all these miseries were there. I hated the people. I hated the weather. It was horrible. I was depressed, anxious. I was, praying for death basically every day. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Florida, and I'm going to start new there. I'm just going to drive, get there, and start over. I'll become a bouncer. I'll go to school. I'll try anything. You know what I mean? But I got to get out of here. That place was death to me. And because my soul was just being ripped out of my body. And so I got to live there. I saved money, working and doing all that stuff. And thank God they paid for my food. It was just fantastic that they helped me out.
O'Connors.
What's it? The O'Connors. I love them. They were so
still with
good
us,
to yes. Yeah. Yes. Unfortunately, I haven't spoke with them in years and years and years. There's more drama with that. Not with them, with their son. When I came to Florida,
which city did you move to?
I just drove. I just drove and drove until I couldn't drive anymore.
So Miami?
No, I made it to Tampa. When I got to Tampa, you got to remember, this was a long time ago.
Orange groves all over the place.
Downtown Tampa was like empty. It was empty. I got there around 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. And I drove down the middle of downtown. I guess it would be Ashley. And there was nobody there. Literally, the lights were on. I'm like, what is this? I thought it was a small town. And I pulled over to the side because there was a bunch of like 3 taxis. And I said, hey, I'm looking for Tampa. Where is it? And they started laughing. They're like, this is it. I said, what? I said, where? There's no people here. I said, where's the city at? And they're like, this is it. Literally, this is downtown.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, oh, man. And they're like, what's going on? And so I kind of explained to them. And they said, hey, go back the other way. Get off on Fletcher Avenue. There's a university there. And that's more
USF.
USF.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, drive there. So I drove down there. I got off on Fletcher. I happened to turn right. And that took me right down right by the university. And I saw that there was like a university. I turned left on 42nd Avenue there. And I drove down the road and I just pulled in to the side, kind of got lost, but it was an apartment. There's a bunch of apartment complexes.
And this is days before GPS navigation.
All that. I didn't have anything, and I was directionally challenged. So just the fact that I made it there was a miracle. Because I was definitely.
Well, you probably just took 75 all the way down.
Yeah, I did pretty much, and asked directions everywhere I went and stuff every 5 minutes. I even had to pull over one time. Waited for a cop to pull over and say, "What's going on?" And say, "I'm lost. I don't know where I'm going." And he drove in front of me, and so I had help. But anyways, I made it there. I slept in my car. The next morning, I got up. I only had a certain amount of money, and I didn't have.
You came down here not knowing anybody,
not knowing a soul, nothing.
Why'd you choose Florida?
Stuff like that? Because it was warm. I got tired of living in my car. My friend worked at a gas station. I'll tell you how rough it was. I would go in my car, and they had gas stations have like heat lamps in these little washing areas, and they have little doors that close so you can stay warm
underneath it.
So I would drive my car in there, close the gates, and then you'd have to have like 50 cents or $1, and then it gives you 5 minutes of heat. But those heaters are really hot, so it warms up the whole place. So my buddy said, "Listen, I'll leave the door open. So late at night, you can come on in there, park your car, and then that way you can heat up."
Dude.
Mike Kirschbaum. And so I did that. I lived literally from place to place. So when I didn't have a place to crash, I had to live in these, in the back of my car and
kind of
sleep
car did
and
you
stuff
have?
like that. I had a little hatchback. It was.
How are you sleeping in that car?
Well, it was a little hatchback. And, so I had like a bed back there, and I had, all my stuff, and it was a Capri. It looked like a Ford Mustang, but it was a Capri, but it was a hatchback. It looked cool. It was a 4-banger piece of garbage. I think I bought for like $400, $500. That's all I could get. But anyways, so that's how I lived, just getting by. And I would steal from grocery stores, food and stuff just to
Allegedly.
live. Allegedly, yeah. I came clean with them later on. It was a store that I worked with when I was a kid, and that's how I ate.
That was all in Illinois.
That was all in Illinois. All this is all in Illinois within, 8 different
so you
counties.
said to yourself,
like that.
"Fuck this."
Yeah, I'm done. I said I didn't want to live, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm going to go to Florida. I had been to Florida a couple times with friends on spring breaks.
To where? Daytona?
With no money at all. Daytona and stuff like that. And again, I would hustle. I was a good hustler. And back then I was a good looking kid. I had the golden tongue and I could just weasel my way in everywhere. And it was a great experience. So I said, I'll go there because that light, the beautiful, and it had this aura about
Never
it for
snows.
me. Never snows. There's good people there and everybody. So anyways, I go there. I sleep. The next day I get up. Now I've got to overcome. How in the hell am I going to get to?
How much money did you have?
I had $1,200.
And then that's after you pumped in gas to get down here, or?
That's everything after. When I arrived, I had $1,200.
Was that a lot back then?
No. That was rent was $300 for a tiny 1-bedroom efficiency.
Well, that buys you 4 months.
Yeah, essentially.
Well, minus food, gas.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I was willing to eat ramen noodle and steal whatever I needed to do. So food I could always hustle. But yeah, in my mind, I needed 4 months to get a job and start earning money.
Where was the first place that you?
It was Cambridge Woods. I can't believe I remember that.
Where the hell is
Cambridge Woods, right off of 42nd Street. It's where Fontana Hall was. Right across from 42nd and Fletcher.
Holy shit.
Yep. And so I ended up living in that area for all through college there, believe it or not.
Then you attended USF also when you moved
Yeah, later on. These are later. I lived on the street. So basically 4 months, couldn't find a job. Still, again, no. It was a rough situation. I did get a job within the 3 months. So I was bouncing. I was, trying to work doing bouncing. But there again, if you're not part of the good old boy network here, it's hard to get into that.
Where were you bouncing at?
In Ybor City.
Oh shit.
Yeah, all the places that started. Yeah, good in Ybor City back when it was brand new. And
brand new Ybor City.
No, the bar scene.
Shit. Oh, the bar
scene was new there. So so I stayed in that little apartment. I got a roommate and had cool neighbors. So they kind of were teaching me what to do, where to go, all that other good stuff. So finally, when I was just about out of money, I found a place to work. It was at Hillsborough County Developmental Center, right off of Bruce B. Downs there, where all the medical buildings are, on Bruce B. Downs in Fletcher.
There was a Bruce B. Downs back then?
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah. Not Bruce B. Downs. What's the name drag there?
56?
50. No.
Right, because 56 turns into Bruce B. Downs, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Bruce B. Downs. It's the main drag there, right?
I'm just asking because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I thought it was Bruce B. Downs in Fletcher. Yeah. And anyway, so it's Hillsborough County Developmental Center. I was making $3.60 an hour. And
was that minimum wage back then?
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. And basically, in order to survive, I had to sleep in my car in the parking lot. Because I was out. I didn't have I had no tag, no title to my car. It was, so I'm driving around illegally.
But weren't you staying at Cambridge?
I did, but my money ran out.
Oh, and then it.
And that was it.
So
and then I was struggling.
And
then literally a week later, I got this job. So I'm like, shoot, I gotta, I just need money for food. So I took the job because basically they offered food and they train you for 6 weeks. So I figured for 6 weeks I can come and eat food at breakfast, and then, you know what I mean? They were going to train me and pay me the $3.60 an hour for training. And it was like in nursing. Basically, it was like a home health care aid. So basically what you did, you worked with assisted living, but for adults with severe handicaps and severe behavioral problems. The worst population you could think of.
Like a psych ward almost?
Kind of, but it's for folks that are have severe disabilities and behavioral problems, but most of them are in wheelchairs. They can't move. They're, drool, the fecal matter, the urine. So basically, that's what you're doing most of the time.
Job,
it's a rough turnaround. Was 95%.
I can see why.
So of my class of 20 that trained in there, I'm the only one that stayed. There was a girl that stayed, but she quit after the first day. Just the smell from walking on the unit was enough to make you gag and vomit. So everybody, but I had no choice. So I'd live in my car. I'd work 16 hours a day doing this. 16 hours, because overtime is what I could make enough money with.
Time and a half.
Yeah, time and a half. So I did that for a year and a half, scheming all along how I'm going to get into nursing. Because I looked and I saw the nurses there made like $15 an hour, $10, $15 an hour. So I'm like, man, that's what I want to do, is get into nursing or healthcare. So I applied to Hillsborough County Community
HCC.
Yeah, HCC, and applied for the nursing program. And believe it or not, I got accepted. Right as the time when they were cutting down, they were going to cut out my
experience. Probably helped you get accepted.
That is, absolutely. And I had to take all the prerequisites. So I had to take anatomy, physiology, biology, all the pre-med. So I had to basically do pre-med for 2 years. And I did. But at that time, when I got to HCC, I went to the student affairs and said, I'm having trouble learning. And they said, well, you have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
And you didn't know this at this point.
Well, we kind of did, but nobody cared.
Yeah.
So nobody really cared. I had that problem since I was a little kid in grade school. but nobody cared about that back then. So they said, you have ADD, you have dyslexia. They studied me in depth. And I took all these psychological evals, cognitive testing, all this other stuff. Turns out that I had an exceptional IQ, but I was literally almost mentally retarded in certain areas. And they said, how could this can't be? There's too much of a disparity. So they tested me for all these other things, and that's when we figured this out. So they made an IED for me, individual.
You?
Yeah, they wanted to give me medicine for
or Adderall.
No, it wasn't Adderall back then. They didn't
Ritalin,
have it,
right?
But it was Ritalin, it was Cycler, Desperamine. There were several things.
You had to take all that?
Well, I didn't. I refused to. I tried the Ritalin, and I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I stopped taking it, and I'm like, I'm more interested in help me learn. Let me pay because they have health care there. So they checked me out and they're like, wow, you got to get
Free?
your teeth fixed. Well, yeah, it's part of the student, you
Shit,
pay
I
for
didn't know
that. So yeah, you get
Yeah.
free student services, which was the greatest thing ever because then I could get treated for all the things that were going on and get fixed up. And then they paid for my glasses so I could actually see in class. They helped me with all kinds of areas. So they worked with me.
It sounds like HEC is pretty fucking
It's awesome.
good.
I love that place. I
got
love
my
that place.
AA from there.
Yeah, I love that school because they were so good and kind to me. They helped me with the student loans, everything.
You know
just an
what?
incredible
Illinois,
experience.
take note. Florida's doing it better.
Way better, way better.
And that was
Way
back
better.
in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, HCC, shout out to you guys. Were fantastic to me. You made a huge change.
Go Hawks.
So that's where I started. They said, listen, let's get you, because I had to take algebra. I had to take, the different maths and stuff like that. But they helped me through all that stuff. The teachers worked with me. There were small groups, small setting, class settings. And the teachers, if you really put forth the effort and said, hey, can you help me with this? They got me tutors. They would tutor me after class. They got me, all free. Well, it was, they were
tuition,
helping me.
tuition, but yeah.
But the teachers didn't have to do that.
No, they didn't.
So they worked with me and I got through. And I remember loving.
I wonder, do you know a teacher? His name's Soash?
No.
Okay, never mind then.
No. Sounds familiar.
Shout out Don Soash.
But I got I started to thrive in school. He taught me how to read with colors, and I'd have to put these colored papers over and highlight things, and I'd have to read out loud, and there was a lot of stuff to it. So you had to neurally reroute the pathways in your brain for learning. And I did this for 2.5 years. But in the process, I learned how to learn. And when I did that, I excelled. I did very well. I had a 3.7 grade point average. So I got through the math, which was awesome and incredible. I did I got through all the remedial stuff. And then
3.7 was good for
right when I made it through the nursing. I did the program, and all we had to do was sit for clinicals and then test, and then we can get our LPN. During that time, I got accepted at USF, which was my dream to go in. And I wanted to be a psychologist, a doctor, or something like that, because I was so confident now that I learned how to learn and I had support that I could do it. So for the first time ever, I really enjoyed learning. And I would work literally, if you had to study for an hour, I would work 8 hours.
Oh, shit.
Just
like
so that I could be equal with you or above. So in doing that, again, helped me dramatically. And I became the opposite of what I was before, which was undisciplined, disorganized, and all that other stuff. Now I became unbelievably disciplined and organized and structured and stuff because this was my only way out.
Why did you have to study so much longer than
because
everybody else?
I didn't learn like you. You could study for 20 minutes and retain 30%. I have to study. If I did that, I wouldn't retain anything. But if I studied and got it,
so
I retained 90% of it.
You never took the prescriptions?
No, I wouldn't take the prescriptions. No, I didn't like the way it made me feel.
How did it make you feel? I'm just curious. I've never taken Ritalin.
It made me more anxious. And I was suffering with anxiety. I was suffering with depression.
In it, right?
What's that?
There's amphetamines. Yeah.
Ritalin is cocaine, essentially. And basically Adderall is methamphetamine in the way that the body processes it.
Well, I think Adderall literally has amphetamines
It does.
in it.
Basal salt
It's
methamphetamine.
meth.
Yeah, it's super bad.
Yeah.
It's a class 2 scheduled substance. That should tell you something right
And it
away.
has to be prescribed. So, yeah,
Right.
that should tell you something.
Yeah, just because they put a time release absorption in it doesn't mean if you cut it up and snort it, then, well, now you're doing meth.
Oh, shit.
Same with the.
You got some
Ritalin.
Adderall?
And that's why do you think it's the most popular misused drug there is?
Is it?
Because, yeah, absolutely, without question.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, because
by college students.
Yeah, by college students. Yeah, absolutely.
And I would be lying if I said I didn't take Adderall in college. I definitely did.
Yeah. Well, you and the other 80% of people. But so once I learned how to learn, essentially, long story short, once I learned how to learn, I excelled in school. And when I got to USF, they put me in the program. They tested me academically and cognitively. They helped me with all of that stuff in terms of training and learning and how to read, all that good stuff, for dyslexia and all the stuff. They allowed me to have a quiet environment to take tests, which was good. I sat in the class, but I had to be, they put me in the back in a more quiet environment, and they gave me like an extra 30 minutes.
Why not in the
of
front?
test. What's that?
Wouldn't the front have been more helpful?
No, they just wanted a quiet. So we'd pick anywhere in the room that was quiet or where it was non-distracting. Because I found when I took the test, I'm paying attention to everybody else taking the test, and I'm not focusing on what I need to. So just by moving me in the hall or in front of the teacher or next to the teacher and giving me a little additional time, I excelled. I excelled. Straight A's across the board. And these were hard courses. I mean, they were pre-med courses, and so a program came available called Counselor Education. It was a master's program. And I said, you know what? I love this. This is what I want to do. And
Counselor
education.
To become a counselor.
Yeah, in education. So a consultant, testing, all kinds, helping kids that had learning disabilities like me, and help them and get them prosperous. So I went through that whole program, and then midway, I'd say 3/4 of the way through, they changed it, and they said, "Oh, we're going into rehabilitation counseling, which is really big now." And rehabilitation counseling is any kind of like rehab, vocational training, anything from schools and stuff. So they said, "Tell you what, since you have all these credits and you're about to graduate, we're going to give you two for one." Because we're going to apply these credits over here, and now you just have to take an extra 30 credits, and we'll give you. And I was taking 15 credit hours, which is full-time, working full-time, and getting straight A's. So I had really overcome that obstacle.
And when we get back, we will finish that story. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for everybody that watches. We're here with Mr. Anderson. I love it, man. Because I don't know anybody named Anderson. The Matrix, bro.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. We are here with Mr. Dr. Anderson. I mean, he does have a PhD, guys.
I do.
That is Mr. Dr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, Mr. Anderson.
Where were we at? We were
just talking about
USF.
I was rising up from the bottom of the pit. So basically, really bad childhood, broken, abuse, went through horrible things, failed at school, didn't graduate high school, had a shot at football, professional football, and that got crushed too. Suddenly, and again, I don't want to blame
education.
Yeah,
also?
then I started at I had to go work in that time while I was in between school, living on the street, living out of my car, eating out of garbage cans,
driving the way.
And then I decided, you know what, I'm not going out like that. So I decided I'm just going to up and come here to Florida.
Went to downtown Tampa. Didn't even know it was downtown Tampa.
Didn't even know it was downtown Tampa. Went back to the USF area. That sparked my interest. After 3-4 months of just struggling and not being able to find work, I said, you know what? I got a job at Hillsborough County Developmental Center in one of the worst environments you could possibly work in. Not because of the residents, because it's just a very hard job.
But the smell
you're basically working in shit and piss and drool all day long.
And that is literally,
paid.
Because of the residents, though.
Yes. Yeah, but I loved the residents. I loved them. I really did. They were, still hold true in my heart to
You
them.
got your
And
bachelor's degree.
yeah, then I went to junior college for nursing, and then went through that, got accepted at USF, and then that's when I started to take off. I got help for the learning disabilities that I had, got treatment for that, and decided to take life seriously and started to work.
How old were you
and
now
stuff like that.
at that point when
I was like 22.
you got your bachelor's?
No, when I got my bachelor's, I think I was 23.
Okay.
I was 23. So
and then that's when you
'cause
started to go to your what is it? Overgrad or graduate
school?
Yeah.
Yeah, postgraduate.
Postgraduate.
So postgraduate PhD, and then graduate school is the master's in rehabilitation and mental health counseling. Undergraduate is the bachelor's with a minor in sociology, and then the associate's degree is just associate's degree.
Yeah.
But at that point, I had gotten my life together. This was in 95 is when my life changed, because I was in USF. I got accepted.
26,
I
right?
was living. No, I was like 24.
When you got your
24. Oh yeah, this is later on. I was much older. In 2000, I got my PhD in 2001.
Oh, okay.
I got my master's in 99, and I got my bachelor's in 95.
Yeah, you're a schoolaholic.
Well, again, because that was my livelihood, literally,
yeah.
because the government would pay for most of that, and I used student loans to survive until I got ahead. After that, I was, like I said, during that time, right before then, literally eating out of garbage cans, living in the street. I mean, it was rough.
Eating out of garbage cans. Do you mean eating out of
literally eating out of garbage cans? Yeah. When I worked at Hillsborough County Developmental Center, the residents, is filled with drool and spit and all that stuff. They would eat this food that was made, and then whatever they couldn't eat, we'd throw in the garbage. Well, I would go outside after the shift and pick through the garbage and eat that food.
Bro.
Because I was starving. So yes. And a lot of times I would vomit right after. I tried to hold it down for 30 minutes, but because it was so rancid and disgusting to eat, it was horrible. It was horrible, but I had to survive.
You literally have probably we've had a lot of people on this show. I mean, we've released over 70 episodes. I've never had anybody go through what you've been through. This is started from the bottom.
Yeah.
Now
I literally had my mother and my father do everything they could possibly do to destroy me. My same with my older brother and my younger brother. We just, there was such hatred and vitriol between all of us. We were all trying to survive with nothing. So it's like throwing the last scrap of food amongst brothers. They're going to try to kill each other for it.
Yeah.
So that's the environment I lived in.
When did you actually say to yourself, I have now a stable life? Because everything 95. I looked around in Ashford Green.
At Ashford Green. I was sitting there and I'm like, this is me. This is where I was supposed to be. Were you renting a place? Did you buy a house? Yeah, I rented a place. I had a roommate, John, who was a good friend of mine. And he was in school for engineering, and we rented that. The place was filled with sorority girls. I had enough money. I was working at the charter hospitals. I was very smart at that point. You were able to
buy food.
I never worried about food. He worked at a restaurant, so he would bring home food. So we had an abundance of food and stuff, and the rent was reasonably cheap. And it was fantastic.
Did you ever believe that life could be like that?
No. I literally came to the precipice of changing my life when I was working at Hillsborough County. I was living off of 15th Street near Marbella. It's the crack houses, literally in a crack house. It was $150 rent, no electricity. I couldn't afford electricity or utilities. I literally bought a extension cord, dug a hole, and hooked it up to the washer and dryer. No, to the washer and dryer. They had a little area in the back, and I would plug it in at nighttime so that I could have light. And I had a little 13-inch TV. That was my only major possession. And I'll tell you, I had
a car, right?
What's that? Yeah. But it wasn't registered. It didn't have a tag, so I couldn't really drive it. It was just for emergencies. And I remember sitting on the floor. I had contemplated committing suicide, so I had it all worked out. And I had kept I kept journals to all this stuff since 82, November 12th, 1982. I remember starting a journal because I wanted to document. This is how dark it was.
When were you born? What year?
69.
So 82. So damn, bro.
Yeah. I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
So, and I had already seeking to commit homicide at that age because I wanted to kill. No, on my parent.
Oh, shit.
I wanted to kill my mother and my brother and sister. So I was contemplating that, and I was basically documenting and justifying why I was doing it. I wanted to leave this book of my diary saying this is what all the horrible things. I documented every single horrible thing that happened to me, the thousands of them, and all the terrible things that she did to me and my dad and all that other stuff. So I kept this journal for up until, in my 30s of all these trials and tribulations and stuff like that. Well, yeah. I had to wait for the statute of limitations to run out.
Oh,
but yeah, I plan on it. I plan to speak on it and stuff like that because coming from when I did, and yeah, I kept a detailed journal every day of what was that. But there was a point when I was working at the thing, and they were going to cut out the overtime, which means I'd be on the street again. And I remember thinking, I got to get back into, I got, how is this going to happen? Is this while
you were living with John? Or
No. This is way before.
Okay,
this is what started my ability to even get there. I was working at that place, living in the crack house, not doing crack, but living there, contemplating suicide. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I had a gun and a revolver. And I planned
Second
on
Amendment
doing it.
right, by the way.
Yeah, and I planned on doing it. So one night I had all the candles. I remember drinking a 40 ounce of Old English and having my last wonderful supper, which was a Whopper, a Whopper from Burger King. And I sat down and I put the gun to my mouth, and I was about to pull the trigger. I had a tarp laid out and everything. I had my book there. I had a note. I had everything all laid out. Because I wanted people to know why I did it. What's that? Well, the second I was about to pull the trigger, this flash came into my head, said, stop for a second. And I thought to myself, have I done everything I could possibly do? Did I leave everything on the field? Did I try everything? Because I thought everything was just bad luck and it was a curse against me and so on. And I cursed God every day and prayed for him to take my life, almost dared him to take my life. And I reached that point and I said, is it possible that I'm what's causing all this? Because I blamed everything else and nothing works. You know what I mean? So I said, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop. I'm going to give it one shot tomorrow. That's it. My last day is going to be then tomorrow. I'm going to live by pure truth. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to deceive. I'm not going to do any of that. I had 3 warrants for my arrest in different states. I was wanted. It was a mess. So I said, you know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to try something complete. I'm going to do the complete opposite of what I'm doing now. The next day, I got up. I went to the payphone. I called this. It was in Daytona, believe it or not, one of the places that I had a warrant. In Illinois, I had a warrant. And in Northern Illinois, I had a warrant. So I called this place and I said, listen, ma'am, in tears, I have a warrant for my arrest. This is what happened, so on and so forth. I have no money. I'm literally going to commit suicide. I explained to her, and I can't believe she listened to me. Back then, people actually answered the phone. And she was almost in tears. And she said, honey, listen to me. I'm going to talk to the judge. And I'm going to see what we can do about this. And she said, can you call me tomorrow? Same time tomorrow. I called on that payphone. I remember the last $3 I had went into that payphone. And she said, listen, make an effort to pay. Do you have it? I said, no. But I went to the pawn shop. I was telling you this story before. And that was basically my bank. And I would send them, literally, she gave me an address. I would send $4, 88 cents. $3 for week after week. And I would write a letter. I'm making an effort, showing the judge that I was making an effort. After doing that for, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks, consistently calling in once a week and making that thing, she said, listen, the judge is going to drop this because you made such an effort. And so right there, I knew God existed for me, that it was me. I was the one that was doing this. So every day that I did right and lived righteously and was truthful, good things happened. And I stopped. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Right when that happened, I got accepted into HCC. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to go to school. I had these epiphany after an epiphany. And I said, I can start school and they're going to pay for my school. And so it was an amazing epiphany that I had when I couldn't pull that trigger. I learned that there is hope. And I guess that's what spawned it in me. And then that made me work 10 times harder and to do the right thing. Same with the other two warrants.
Well, not only that, but you are the master of your future.
Right. But I didn't know that then. I thought I was just.
And I was actually going to lead into something with that, is that most people, they don't have a strong role model growing up.
Right.
Especially if you come from a broken home and you come from, a poor family. They don't have a lot of people that they can turn to that can be a mentor. And then some mentors are bad mentors.
Right. Bad role models. They have bad coping skills and they teach that to their kids.
So I never really had a mentor until I started looking at Les Brown. Do you know who Les Brown is?
Yeah, exactly.
That was my mentor when we created Febre Frameworks. I would listen to him, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins.
Exactly.
Every
Tony Robbins
day.
was one of the starters. Yeah.
And now, since back then, there wasn't YouTube or anything.
Right.
There wasn't really much for you to grasp. You were pretty much at the mercy of whatever was dealt to you.
Yeah. I was living in a dark
I'm surprised
place.
You're alive, dude.
I listen.
The story you're telling me, I'm surprised you're alive.
At least 15 close death experiences. I was run over by a car. I was shot. I was stabbed. I had baths taken to
from
me.
A car.
Yeah, I mean, so I've lived a rough life doing very bad things. And again, I blamed it on everybody else. I had an external locus of control and this victimhood mentality, which was in my neighborhood. We were all victims. The man owed us money, everybody, so it justified our aberrance in our behavior. And the second I didn't pull the trigger, I decided I'm not a victim anymore, that I'm going to be in 100% control and I'm going to take responsibility for everything and I'm going to challenge it. And whatever happens, happens. And all three of those charges, the judges, even though it took some time and one of them I had to pay off, the other two got dropped. They dropped the charges. They worked because I was honest, because I worked, because I was consistent, because so I learned that, wait a minute, if I do that and apply this to everything, I'm going to succeed. And then when school started, and then I applied that same work harder than everybody else, focus everything, because I thought this was my one shot. This is my one shot. And I lived that way. I sacrificed going out and partying and I just completely cut 100% off and it was all work 100%. Now, I'm not saying that's good, but it got me through. And then I learned.
We're not saying that's bad either, though.
Right. No. That's what you need to survive and to get where you're going. Then you pull it back. Then you find a medium ground. So at times you have to go full in.
If you can't believe in yourself, how can you expect other people to believe in you?
But if you don't love yourself, if you don't respect yourself, if you can't be who you are, you're not going to do those things.
1,000%. So then let's move forward to when you were living with John.
Yep.
You had abundance. Now.
I took full advantage of it.
Is that when life started to turn?
It went so fast and so prosperous, and so my mind, I had evil in my mind. So the depression, the anxiety, the low self-esteem.
Did you surround yourself with positive people at that point?
It wasn't so. You have to fix that first. Then you surround yourself with positive people. So I was forced into situations of having to deal with people. And because those people were decent, and the only reason I had access to decent people was why?
USF?
Because I became decent.
Oh, okay, yes.
And then USF, because there's bad people at USF. Yeah. But had I not been decent, I've been with them. But because I turned decent, because I accepted the responsibility of that and I became decent, that's why they were attracted to me. That's why they accepted me. When I tried to get around those people before, they don't want to be around those people. Yeah, I have an old saying at my clinic with patients: if you stand in shit long enough, you start to stink. And the only people that are going to be around you or accept you are other people who stink and who are standing in shit. So if you don't want to be around those people, you have to cleanse yourself, and remove yourself from the shit. And when you do that, good people will now accept you, and that's who's going to be around
That's a
you.
fact.
And that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
So USF was my proving ground. That's where I had to study twice as hard as everybody. I had to sacrifice not going to parties and hanging out and doing all that stuff. I had to work harder than everybody. I had to do things nobody else would do. But because of that, it put me in a position later on in life where now I can do what I want to do where others can't.
So this is just your 20s.
Yeah.
This isn't even into your 30s.
It's not even in my 30s.
So what happens next? What happens next?
Well, the next level after the USF and excelling, I excelled in school. I mean, I did 2 master's degrees. I did, with the counselor ed and the rehab and them merging together. I was taking 15 hours plus working at the hospital, plus, I was thriving in this. My body and my brain couldn't get enough education, because it had been starved from it for so long. I knew the answers, they're in my head, but I couldn't articulate. I couldn't get it out there and stuff. So now I found a way to get attention. So I was going to be the smartest person in my class. I was going to be the smartest guy in my fraternity. So I got to relive life. So in junior college in Joliet, I couldn't join a frat. I couldn't do this. I didn't have a car. I couldn't date people. I couldn't do all that stuff. So I suffered through it and did it poorly. So this was a new chance, which changed my life, is I got to relive my life. How many people get to relive their life? I literally got to relive everything the right way. Knowing, how people say, God, I wish I could go back in life and relive it knowing what I know now. I did that. I did that in real life.
And you did it young enough too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and still currently.
Trust me, I have had a life. If I died now, I did more than most 10 people.
And then you were also, so when did you so you get your PhD?
Right.
In early 2000s.
2001. Yeah.
What then?
Well, I was working in the hospitals, running hospital units, ARU units, adult recovery units, addiction recovery units, and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, they're making, because now I was
you're in your 30s at this point. Right?
Yeah, I was like 32 or something like that. Yeah, so I was young. And, I'm 35, I went through the school. I taught as a teacher. Young. I was the ESC specialist for Hillsborough County. I had done a lot of stuff, and I was trying to feel out, business-wise. But I was always an entrepreneur. I was always a hustler. I was always good with money. You can give me $1, I'll turn it into 10. So I was always good with that, and I didn't like working for the man. The man being these institutions like the hospital administration, the school administration. They were all corrupt. They're bad people, very bad people, and they're corrupt.
Well,
they're taking advantage of the students. They're stealing the money. They're getting paid. So I'm like, wait a minute, why am I doing all the work and they're putting me at risk? And when I could do this. So basically, to get to the point, I decided when I was at the hospital, they wanted me to charge patients and write off and sign off on all these modalities and treatments that we were giving that we weren't giving. And I said, no, because I'm fraud. The one signing. Yeah, it's fraud. So I was a whistleblower. And unfortunately for me, that means I'm fired and kind of blackballed from that. But I got a settlement, and they got fined a huge, massive amount of money and so on and so forth. They ended up going out of business. They had to be bought out by another hospital. But still.
What was the hospital, can you say?
It was Town and Country Hospital. The
was
ARU
that off of
unit.
Waters?
No, that's off of by the mall over there. And no, that's in, I forget the name of the area.
Martin Luther King?
No. This is I don't even know. Yeah, I don't remember but it was by the mall, by the
Tampa Bay Mall,
like West Chase area, kind of around that area.
Shit,
Town and Country Hospital. Yeah.
No shit.
But
they no longer exist, right?
Well, no, because it got bought out because of all that stuff. They had a lot of problems. So they revamped it and stuff like that. So now it's a different hospital, but same type of thing. And I loved the hospital. I just didn't like the administration. They were all corrupt. And then they tried to blame it on me. And again, I was found, I was fine. I was the whistleblower, but you know how they try to turn it around on you. Same with the schools. I worked for the Hillsborough County School District. do an ESE specialist for these
What's ESE?
exceptional student education, people that were like me growing up, and from genius all the way to special needs, special education. And they were writing IEPs and getting $10,000-$12,000 and then not providing any services for it.
What are IEPs?
Individual education plans.
Okay.
Sorry. And so I, again, whistleblower on that. And that ended my career there, which was fine. I didn't want to be part of that whole education system. It's so corrupt and vile. It's horrible. It's just an indoctrination camp for
literally
dysfunction.
what it is.
So I got out of there before then, but I whistleblowed on them, and that got them cost them a lot of money and a lot of change, which is good. So I decided, you know what? I want to do things my way, the right way. I want to start an education curriculum. I want to start treatment for people suffering with substance abuse and mental health, because I went through all of it. I know how to do it. I know what's going to help. I know the curriculum from the ground up. So I spent years creating a curriculum, and then I started when I lost my job at the hospital administration.
When you were falsely fired?
Well, no, they fired me, and yeah, they got busted for that, and they paid me for it. I mean,
falsely fired?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, wrongfully terminated. But yeah, I mean, they fired me. It wasn't false. They were just wrongful in why they did it. Yeah, they didn't want me to blow the whistle on them. So anyways, all that stuff fueled me. And then I decided, I went to spoke to Tony Edwards. He was the guy in charge of 65D30. It's the licensing through Department of Children and Family for facilities. Nobody at that point, an individual practitioner, had ever had an individual license to practice like a hospital. It's all companies and like hospitals.
Like Baker.
So I said, well, I want to do that. And he's like, how are you going to do that? How are you going to learn all this stuff? And because you got to have thousands of pages of your curriculum. You have to have everything. You got to go through 65D30 and they have rules and regulations. You have to have hundreds of pages of outline of how you're going to do all this and implement it and so on. I spent a year doing it because I was that determined and that passionate about it. Long story short, I was the first person to ever be licensed with a facility license. I bought a property, I turned it into a clinic, and then I wrote the laws, the rules, the regulations, the student hand or the employee handbook, all by myself, based upon the rules. So, and started my clinic, ARC of Tampa.
And when we get back, we will talk about ARC of Tampa. We'll see you right again. Fool me once, you can't fool me again. And we're back with Happy Hour Holidaze after this short little break. We were now getting into the meat and potatoes,
the saga
of ARC. Mr. What does ARC stand for?
It's Addiction Recovery Care of Tampa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Multiple locations or?
What's that?
Multiple locations?
Two.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but right now, and we're 23 years.
20. Holy shit.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
23 years. And we provide substance abuse, mental health, everything from probation, DUIs especially. We specialize with the DUIs and the probation obligation. So if you get a DUI or you get a drug charge, you go through probation, give us a call. We'll set you up with your treatment service hours and get you in fast, easy, quick, and affordable.
So also, how many people that take the course do you see again? Or it's not a course, man.
Well, yeah. What's the recidivism rate?
Yeah.
For me, for our program, we're exceptional. So we don't do a 12-step program. We do like what I talk about. That's the whole purpose of getting on here and giving you my backstory, is to let you know I've been through all that stuff. So I have a very unique understanding and an extensive education, so that I can merge those two together to form the curriculum, and facilitate that to people so that they don't go down that path, so they can veer off and get down a healthy path, lifestyle. And so we probably, I'd say maybe 5%.
Oh, wow. That's a lot lower than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Most places have about 40 or 50%.
And then you probably have a team of...
We have a 65% success rate, long-term, 1 year.
That's good.
Recovery. For an outpatient, that's incredible.
And then you probably also have a team of psychologists, or
No.
So what exactly is it? Tell me about ARC.
Well, you don't need a team of psychologists. I see about 20 to 50 people a week. So,
Holy shit.
So basically, for the hub that I'm referring to, the ARC of Tampa, Addiction Recovery Care, off of 13719 North Nebraska Avenue, we see mostly people suffering with substance abuse and mental health issues. So we have primarily there DUIs, where you go through DUI counterattack or probation, and then they send you off to a treatment provider. That's me. And then you would have to go through a substance abuse treatment course. But we also have other half of the folks are people suffering with mental health issues like depression, anxiety, sleep issues, parenting issues, relationship issues, that need help to get their life in order, to find out how to stop this and how to implement a good lifestyle. So, we work with them as well, either in individual or group, most likely group, facilitation. And then they, again, have great outcomes.
So you said you speak to 40 to 50 people a week?
Yeah, 20 to 50 patients I have a week.
Man,
and that's 3 days, 3 days a week.
So is the majority of the business you listening, right?
No, it's the majority of me talking.
Really?
Yeah. And then the rest is intakes, evaluations, and assessments and drug screening. So we have a lab. We have to drug screen and stuff, not dips, actual drug screening. And that's a whole process. And then we have intakes, evaluations, and assessments to evaluate what's going on, what's wrong with your child, what's happening, why are they acting like this, and then coming up with a treatment plan and implementing that and facilitating in that one of our programs. And then the rest is, the lectures and the education.
Now, as a business owner, is there an exit plan? Because you can't do it forever, right? Or can you?
I can. I can talk. So as long as I can talk, I'm good to go.
But are you going to be doing it well into your 70s?
I've been retired since 2002. So I'm just semi-retired because I love doing this. This is a promise I made when I got my life back, that I would facilitate and do this until I can't.
You mentioned off air that you lived abroad.
Mm-hmm.
So this was during your retirement, semi-retirement?
Well, 2002, when I started the clinic, I was an entrepreneur. I had a little restaurant. I bought some commercial properties and stuff. It was Scotty A Cafe. So it was a cafe. Okay. We sold high-end coffee, smoothies.
Where was it?
It was on 13719 North Nebraska.
Yeah, you love North Nebraska, bro.
Well, because I bought a whole complex there.
Oh,
I own the land and the building. So of course I'm going to put it in there.
Is it a strip plaza?
Yeah, and Gracie Tampa, they were in there. Oh, so the fight studio, the original Gracie Tampa was in there. So and I had a mortgage company, Prime One Mortgage. So I did a lot of stuff.
07, 08?
That was 07, 06, 07, 08, 09. So after the crash, obviously the mortgage company, we folded that. We put in a insurance company now, Bendeck Insurance Company, and now
did you call it Van Dyke?
Bendeck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just an insurance. We write up
property insurance
for Medicaid. Yeah, different types of insurances, and then the restaurant, when that went down, I had it for 4 or 5 years. It was great, but again, it was crushing times back then. So during the fall of 08, 09, 010, the recession. So, I tried to make it work as best I can. It was a great experience. And then, like I said, put different things in and stuff like that. So I've always been an entrepreneur.
You're clearly a real estate investor.
Yeah, I'm Yeah, absolutely.
Do you mind telling people how many properties you own?
2, 3, 4, 5 commercial.
5 commercial?
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, man. Are those better? Those are probably better than residential, I'm going to assume. Because
not
even
now
though
with
you
the
have
Airbnb and stuff, and the cost of commercial is rising. But for a while there, man, I took a hit for a long time.
2020, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at 18, 19, 20. I mean, you couldn't rent for over $1,200. Now I could rent for $2,000 if I wanted to. Big difference. So a lot of those commercial properties I sold to pay everything off, so I don't owe anything. And then that way I can invest that money, like I said, abroad. And I wanted to have a place in Colombia and a place in Jaco or Costa Rica and stuff like that. So
Which Jaco Beach is in.
Jaco Beach is like, But so I've lived since 2008 back and forth to Costa Rica. And then after about 8 or 9 years, it kind of turned into mini New York. So I had to go on over to Medellin, Colombia, and I've been there for 8 or 9 years.
Is it true what they say about Medellin? You can't walk around with watches. You can't walk around with name brand.
False. Where I live is like Davis Island.
Really?
Yeah. So whatever you can do in Davis Island, you can do there. Is it smart to go out late at night in Provenza or Parque Yellis with gold chains hanging out? No. If I did that downtown Tampa, I'd be mobbed. So there's no difference. Do you do that in the barrios? No, I wouldn't go down 15th Street over here in Suitcase City and walk around with that either.
Jesus Christ.
So no, it's very safe. It is very safe.
So you would pretty much say that Medellin is like, or at least parts of it, because every place has a ghetto, right? Tampa's got ghettos. Yeah. I'm going to call them ghettos because that's what
there's bad areas.
Bad areas, low income
but they're
areas.
Not ghettos, but they're bad areas, where there's gangs. And where there's gangs, there's violence, there's corruption. Same here.
You ever been robbed there?
No, never even close. No, I'm kind of connected there, so it'd be a bad idea to fiddle with.
Puede hablar español?
Poquito.
Damn, how do you get around if you can't speak it?
I understand it.
You do?
Yeah.
But
I've been practicing. I did 352 days on my little Spanish
Rosetta
app.
Stone?
It's one of those other ones, the little frog guy. But I do all right. I have staff. I have people, a driver and Juan and a couple of Sebastian and a couple of guys. And, so if I need that, I have it.
So you have international properties.
Yeah.
What if somebody wants to follow the same route? Do they have to hire a realtor in those cities?
Yes.
Do you go down there? Do you see the properties?
Yeah, I have friends that are real estate guys and stuff. So the first thing you got to do is set up with the bank. So this is like a 6-8 month thing first. You would have to first set up an account with the Bank of Colombia there, and then you would have to get approved. As a
non-citizen, right?
Right, as a non-citizen. And then you start with the real estate agent. They'll tell you what to do, how to fill out these forms, all this other stuff. And then they do background meaning that you have to have witnesses and people that vouch for you and all this other stuff and accounts. And you have to be stable in your environment here and stuff like that.
Just to set up a bank
account? Minor. It's not hard.
What's the process?
But let's say you just had cash and you wanted to, which is what you're going to need. You set up the bank account, you go through the vetting process and stuff. You could. It would be difficult, and I don't know if it would be worthwhile. But yeah, you can do all that stuff. But you would work with the realtor there, and you get a really good attorney there. And
why would you need an attorney?
Well, because to make sure that it's all legit.
Shouldn't the realtor?
I don't trust anybody but the attorneys and the people that work.
So in order to purchase a property, say in Medellin, you would need an attorney.
Right, and the real estate person. They work together. Yeah, in the bank.
Let me ask you a question, because this is one fear I have of investing abroad. The ability for the government to seize the property, and now that's it.
It's 10 times more here.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 10 times more fearful of that here than there. I've never heard of it there.
Oh, I was just wondering.
Unless you're talking about San Andreas when they went through and killed all the cartels and just seized their mansions.
Oh, I was back in the 80s, right? Yeah. That was a long time ago.
A long time ago.
So why are you more fearful of it here?
Because our government is so corrupt.
Let's talk about our government.
Let me just really quick. The ARC of Tampa, the whole backstory of why I'm giving out all that personal information is to let you know that if you're suffering out there, if you're in a very dark place, depression, anxiety, substance abuse, there's a way out. Even if you don't think so, if I can make it out, anybody can make it out. So the reason of telling that, because I'm not ashamed of where I came from. It's made me who I am. It's helped me to understand the process. Reach out, and I can assure you, just by putting the minimal effort in, you can get better. I guarantee it. Okay, so don't lose hope. Reach out. Someone will be there to help you. I guarantee it.
And how can they reach out to you?
Oh, you can go. Listen, go to.
You want to drop your phone number on there?
Sure. Well, yeah.
Or at
I
least
don't
the
want to
business
do plugs and stuff, but you can say
do plug.
Go to YouTube and Google Dr. Anderson Addiction. You'll have 200 plus videos, all free of charge. It'd be nice if you subscribed or liked them, but you can go in there and they're all categorized for free. And that way, if you can't afford treatment services, if you don't have access to it, if you're ashamed of, go there, watch the videos. It'd be like being in with a therapist. It'd be like being in with a psychologist or a therapist or a psychiatrist. All the information you could possibly know and support is right there on that channel. Guaranteed.
And you probably
hundreds of videos.
Probably thousands upon thousands of views, maybe even millions of views, right?
I don't know. I don't put it up for that, to be honest with you, so I don't even know.
You should, man. You can monetize YouTube channels like crazy.
I'm more interested in helping folks. I have plenty of money. Yeah. I'm pretty well to do. Yeah. I'm good with all that stuff. I'm more about getting the message out. I have been ostracized because of mental health and substance abuse has been a black mark on society. But now I'm starting to shine. I'm starting to shine and my message is getting out. Why? Because you have no choice. You can't hide me anymore. Substance abuse and mental health is rampant. We are in a mental health crisis here in America. So I can help.
You know what? Talking about a mental, what'd you call it?
Health crisis.
Mental health crisis. Yeah. Wokeness, pretty much. It propelled that to the spotlight, didn't it? Yeah. Because in my opinion, I think people that are quote unquote woke, they're the ones suffering from it the most. Yeah. They are afraid to be offended.
Woke means liberalism. Liberalism is an ideology that used to have merit, but doesn't anymore. I'm talking about the liberalism that's current in the last couple years, last 3 or 4 years, since Trump derangement syndrome became a real thing. Yes. So liberalism to me is a form of mental illness. I did it on another show where I said, all right, here's the definition of mental illness.
Plug the show.
Here. Oh, it's the Consumer Quarterback Show
with Brandon Rhymes.
Hey, Brandon. And Alex Lima.
Yeah.
Black Belt Lima. Absolutely. Got to give a shout out to my boy. He's
I know
fantastic.
Alex Jones, though.
Yeah, Alex Jones. I got you.
But it's Alex Lima. Yeah.
Depends on when you knew him. Yeah. But no, great show. I'm a regular on there a couple times a month and for the last year. And I put out segments.
Brandon loves talking about politics.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, I'm always have been careful about politics because of my position in society. So we have to be careful.
I'm at the point where I'm like, fuck it. I don't care anymore.
I can't.
If I offend your feelings, I do not care.
Yeah. And I'm at the point where I can't be canceled. I'm financially stable. So I don't. They can come for me all they want. I'm just speaking the truth. So I'm careful to a degree, but I call it psychological politics or the psychology of politics.
What CNN has been doing for the last 20 years.
And that's a psyop tenfold, that propaganda. Like
Taylor
you and
Swift
I have talked like this.
Is not a psyop. Did you see that video? Taylor Swift Taylor Swift is not a psyop.
The whole thing is propaganda.
Everybody literally said the same shit, bro.
Yeah. And then, all in unison.
And in unison, and also calling Trump Vance weird.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. Everything they do is a mantra.
Who's the machine? Who's the machine that is running it?
Pelosi, Schumer,
Soros
funded, and then all of Congress, basically, all of those radical communists. Because this is all about.
I'm glad you said
this is all
communist,
about. This is communism.
Did you see what happened in Pennsylvania?
Socialism. Socialism is the intermediate concession right before communism takes over.
They're all Marxists.
Yeah, when you run out of our money, then it's communism.
Did you see Pennsylvania where a bunch of communist flags were flying?
I know.
They were marching.
They're not hiding it anymore.
No, they're not.
All of their agendas. Why would you want to flood the world with open borders?
World Economic Forum said it.
Right. So again, they're not hiding it. They're not hiding it at all. They're 100%. They just rename things. That's what the Marxist handbook says is, listen, say something and then rename it, put a nice name on it, and it's still communism. You just put lipstick on a pig and then just create a mantra, push it to the propaganda and say it until somebody believes it.
I mean, can we think about any socialist or communist nation that is flourishing right
None.
now?
They never have, never will.
No.
It's killed-
I mean,
killed
USSR
hundreds
fell
of
apart.
thousands, millions,
Cuba,
millions and millions.
Cuba's fucked.
North Korea,
North Korea. Well, that's
Yep.
more of like a
Venezuela,
totalitarian dictatorship.
Canada, Australia,
Yeah. All hurting, bro.
destroyed.
Venezuela,
Destroyed.
gone.
Yeah.
What was the one? El Salvador.
I've been to Venezuela.
El
That's
Salvador.
in my neck of the woods back in the 90s in 2002, 2003. And I'll tell you, it was fantastic, beautiful. I had a girlfriend from Colombia, or Costa Rica, that owned properties there, like a little fourplex. She just destroyed the whole everything. The place is
and
in
it was a
ruin.
rich country.
Unbelievable.
because they
The
had
resources they have are
the
unmatched.
oil reserves that they
Yeah.
had, man. They
Yeah.
they could have been very rich.
Absolutely.
For such a small nation.
They
man.
were.
Yeah.
They got
It's like the size
sucked
of New
dry.
Mexico or something.
Yeah.
And then for them to go from wealth to complete poverty
Yeah.
is astonishing.
Well, this all started, and here I'll give you my quick lineage of it, or my opinion of it. Started with the liberal, in the 60s, the liberal professors at the colleges. These
like
guys,
we have currently here in the
right.
US.
Well, yeah, now 93% of all liberal professors are,
Or of all professors are
woke,
liberal.
yeah, communists that are trying to push their message through. So colleges are a waste of time now, and unless you just want to be indoctrinated into a woke,
Cult.
Yeah, cult of. It's a shame because you work so hard to get rid of slavery, as best you could,
And you know who got rid of that, right?
And now
Republicans did.
all these people are literally living on the Democrat plantation, just carrying water and they're
You know who
literally
started it, right?
Stuff. What's that?
You know who
Yeah,
started
LBJ,
it?
of course. Yeah. When they took the father out of the home and put Uncle Sam in there.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Have as many kids as you can. We'll pay for your kids as long
When
as
they
there's not a father around.
When they incentivized weakness, when they incentivized the victimhood,
Yes.
and then paid
That
to
started
keep
in
fathers
2016.
away. Yeah.
The
LBJ,
incentivizing victimhood started in 2016.
Whenever
with
welfare,
safe spaces.
welfare is
Safe spaces.
instituting.
Yeah.
That's what welfare is.
Now, don't
Creating
get me wrong.
learned helplessness.
I think there are some people that take advantage of the welfare system that need it. Need it.
That's never been an
And
issue.
then they
That's
want to
never
get
been
out
an
of
issue.
it. They want to get out of it.
Nobody
they don't
has a
want to
problem
use
with
it.
helping people that need it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there are people that just systematically take advantage
Vast
of
majority.
it without an end in sight for getting off the welfare system.
And that's just it. The plan is give them money so they vote for us. That's it. That's
literally
that's
it.
what welfare is. We're going to pay for you. We look very virtuous, and then you're going to vote for us. That's it. That's all it is. It's a way to pay people to vote for them.
And the ignorant people do not understand that the government's not paying for it.
I know.
It's the taxpayers that are paying for it. So when you go to the grocery store and you see that eggs are now $3.16 for a dozen as opposed to $1.12, well, now you know who's
when
really
you
paying
print
for it.
trillions of dollars, the literal definition, and I took business classes, and inflation is easily defined. When the government, what the cause is, when the government prints more money that's out there being circulated than is out there, the value of the dollar
Goes
drops
down.
precipitously. And then you need more and more of that dollar to pay for other things, which is inflation.
Do you think that they messed up when they went off the gold standard?
Of course, I think that's the downfall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But isn't it kind of ominous that no other country really is on the gold standard and the US dollar is still worth in the top 3 against other currency other than the euro, the pound?
Yeah, but that's because all those other countries are corrupt. So we're just now becoming like them.
We absolutely are.
Instead of being the gold standard, literally.
But that ended back in like what? Nixon's.
Yeah.
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 When he took it all. Because we went off the gold standard, I think, back in like 1920.
Yeah, that's because they wanted the feds to be able to control the economy and how to print money. That's another scam, the Fed.
Well, the Fed is a centralized bank. It's not owned by the U.S. government.
I know.
Who owns the Fed?
The oligarchs that made America.
Rothschilds.
The
Rockefellers?
Rockefellers, of course.
Maybe the Carnegies?
Really?
Maybe the Vanderbilts?
That's it. And geez, what what is BlackRock? What is who owns most of these?
Talking about BlackRock, the two assassins.
Mhm,
Okay,
I know. We're in the commercial.
We're in the commercial.
I know.
Bro, so BlackRock's not even hiding it. They're like, you know what? We're just
That's why
going to
I say
pick
the propaganda
somebody
isn't
out.
being hid anymore. It's just a matter of fact.
Yeah, but liberals don't fucking see it because they are being blinded by the
They're
MSM
brainwashed.
propaganda, and they are just perpetuated one term, one sentence over and over again across ABC, MSNBC, NBC, CNN, over and over. They are being programmed mentally.
And do you know why?
To believe it all.
When people are inadequate cognitively, what they do is look for authorities for talking points.
To tell them what to think.
To tell them what to think.
And then they're parroting.
Right. And then they feel like they belong to the people in power and that they're doing their job, that they're keeping up. So there's a cognitive dissonance to it where people of low intelligence, lacking critical thinking, that don't have the capacity to, or the self-esteem or self-awareness to stand up and to do their own thinking and stand up and have an opinion. They need that. They're sheep. And that's why they call them sheep. Now, sheep aren't bad. Sheep can be bad when they're indoctrinated with propaganda.
I think all sheep are bad, man.
Well, but we need those.
Unless they produce wool.
Well, and they do. Left unhindered.
And by wool, I mean like employment.
So if they weren't being indoctrinated, we need sheep. They work, they do this, they pay the tax, they this. We need them. And then the good leaders lead those sheep. And then there's the dogs and the sheep herder. The dogs protect, and then the sheep herder guides and leads. So you can make that an analogy for the president and Congress and the Senate, and then the sheep. And then you've got some of the radical outthinkers that make changes. Why do they make changes? Because they call the people out. And that's supposed to be the media. And they don't do that.
The media used to do it.
They did, but then they learned that they could make a lot of money, and they were bought and paid for. When they started siphoning all of the taxpayers' money, and then they bring it off to Ukraine, which is basically just a laundering service for money. And then those people send it back to the congressmen and senators who pay off everybody. Then there's your system. That's the system we live in right now. And the DOJ and the FBI, all the alphabet people, they alphabet meaning the three-letter agencies, they're bought and paid for. They're as corrupt as the day is long.
I'm curious to see what happens with P. Diddy and all the people that he can potentially expose.
Yeah.
Including Michelle Obama. I'm sorry, I pulled a Barack there.
Yeah. Just as corrupt.
So we have approximately 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? It could be nuggets of advice. It could be something that could change someone's life. Anything.
Don't be stigmatized by mental health and substance abuse. 7 out of 10 people are dealing with it. 7 out of 10 people are suffering with it. Don't be stigmatized by it. Find help. If you can't find it, or if you have, call us. Call us. Addiction Recovery Care of Tampa. Share the Love Charities. That's a charity that I have. We fund all of that stuff. We offer scholarships. I will point you in the right direction, or go get that information online at YouTube or TikTok. Google Dr. Anderson, addiction on there and stuff like that. I am. I have a whole channel full with all kinds of videos. Instagram? I am. Yeah.
Oh, so you're all. Yeah. I'm gonna have to get all that info.
Yeah,
so we can collab on the videos.
Absolutely, without question. I have a lot of good information.
Sorry to interrupt. By the way.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So don't be afraid. Get out there. Get help. And I'm telling you, it's not as hard as you think to get better. To become stable could take a week to 2 weeks, believe it or not, with a little bit of effort. And like I said, there's tons of videos on there telling you how to do that on your own. But if you need assistance, get it.
Let's get some entrepreneur advice now.
Yeah, super easy. Again, start your own LLC or a C corporation and get your taxes in order. Be able to invest in things that are going to have a return, not necessarily right away, but especially real estate is a good investment. But you have, listen, I'll make all of the young kids rich. Tell your parents, if you're 8, 10 years old, tell your parents to put $10,000, $5,000, $2,000 into a Roth IRA or an IUL for insurance and build that over the next 20, 30 years. When you're 30 years old, you can thank me for the $4 or $5 million that'll be in that account.
Yeah, because the market, I mean, it never goes down.
Never goes down because it's corrupt, so it's always going to win. House always wins.
Okay, well, it was a plum pleasing pleasure to have Mr. Anderson, Dr. Anderson, over here on Happy Hour Holidaze. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next episode.